Chapter 10, Mishnah 6. This Mishnah gives examples that illustrate some of the rules of Tuma that apply to Mechatas. In addition to the rules that were discussed earlier in this chapter, our Mishnah deals with two other Tuma laws of Mechatas. One law is that someone who is Tame can transmit Tuma to Mechatas merely by carrying or moving it, even without touching it directly. See Chapter 11, Mishnah 6 below. The other law is that Mechatas transmits Tuma to people and utensils that touch it for any reason other than for sprinkling it. If the Mechatas consists of the minimum amount needed for sprinkling, as defined in Mishnah chapter 12, Mishnah 5 below, it transmits Tuma to a person who carries it even without touching it directly. And any utensil that the person is touching at the time becomes Tame as well. See Kalim chapter 1, Mishnah 2. However, the Mechatas itself does not become Tame through contact with the now Tame person who touched or carried it. See chapter 9, Mishnah 8. To illustrate the various Tuma rules, the Mishnah uses the example of two bottles, one containing Teruma or Kodesh, and the other containing Mechatas. The Mishnah discusses 7 different cases involving these two bottles. The first case, and we now turn to the words of the Mishnah. If a bottle of Mechatas touched a bottle of Kodesh or of Teruma, the bottle of Mechatas becomes Tame, because even Kodesh and Teruma are treated as Tame for Mechatas. But the bottle of Kodesh or Teruma is Tahor, even though it touched the now Tame bottle of Mechatas, because that bottle is Tame only for Mechatas. The second case. If a person who was Tahor for Mechatas held the two bottles in his two hands, one bottle in each hand, both bottles are Tame, even though they never touched each other. The bottle of Mechatas is Tame because the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh makes the person who held it Tame for Mechatas. And the now Tame person in turn makes the bottle of Mechatas Tame through his touch. The bottle of Teruma or Kodesh is Tame because the person is touching it at the same time that he is carrying the Mechatas. And the law is that Mechatas makes both a person who carries it and the utensils that person is touching at the time Tame. The third case. If the two bottles are wrapped in two separate papers, both bottles are Tahor. Since the person is not touching the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh directly, it does not make him Tame for Mechatas, so he in turn does not make the bottle of Mechatas Tame. And although the person does become Tame by carrying the bottle of Mechatas, he does not make the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh he is holding Tame because he is not touching it directly. The fourth case. If the bottle of Mechatas is wrapped in paper, and the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh in his hand is unwrapped, both bottles are Tame. The bottle of Teruma is Tame since the person is touching it directly at the same time that he is carrying the Mechatas. The bottle of Mechatas is Tame as well because the person carrying it had already become Tame for Mechatas by touching the bottle of Teruma. And a Tame person transmits Teruma to the Mechatas he carries even without touching it directly. The fifth case. If the bottle of Teruma is wrapped in paper, and the bottle of Mechatas is in the person's hand unwrapped, both bottles are Tahor. Although the person becomes Tame from carrying the Mechatas, he does not make the bottle of Teruma Tame because he is not touching it directly. And since he is not touching that bottle directly, it does not make him Tame for Mechatas. So, he does not make the bottle of Mechatas Tame. Atana disagrees with this ruling. Rabbi Yeshua says, in this last case, the bottle of Mechatas is Tame, because with regard to Mechatas, we treat the bottle of Teruma as if it is Tame with Tumas Midras. Since something that is Tame with Tumas Midras transmits Tuma by being moved, the bottle of Teruma makes the person Tame even though he did not touch it directly, and the person in turn makes the Mechatas bottle Tame. The sixth case. If bottles of Mechatas and of Kodesh or Teruma were placed on the ground and a person touched them, the bottle of Mechatas is Tame, because the person becomes Tame for Mechatas by touching the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh, and he in turn transmits his Tuma to the bottle of Mechatas. But the bottle of Kodesh or of Teruma is Tahor, because the person did not become Tame from touching the bottle of Mechatas, since he did not touch or carry the Mechatas itself. The seventh case. If he moved the two bottles without touching them directly, for example, he moved them with a stick, Rabbi Yeshua rules that the bottle of Mechatas is Tame because he treats the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh as if it is Tame with Tumas Midras, which transmits Tuma by being carried or moved. Thus, by moving the bottle of Teruma or Kodesh, the person becomes Tame for Mechatas. The now Tame person then makes the bottle of Mechatas Tame when he moves it, because the Tame person transmits Tuma to Mechatas by carrying or moving it. But the sages rule that the bottle is Tahor, because in their opinion, the bottle of Kodesh or Teruma is treated only as if it is Tame with corpse Tuma, which transmits Tuma only through touch. Since the person did not touch the bottle directly, he does not become Tame for Mechatas, and therefore does not make the bottle of Mechatas Tame.